Adolf Hitler and his childhood. Hitler was born on April 20, 1889. Hitler was born in a house in the northwestern Austrian town of Braunau am Inn. Hitler lived here from birth until the age of 3. His family had been renting the house until they moved to Leonding, a village suburb of Linz. Just a year after moving in, Clara's child and Adolf's brother Edmund died in February. Hitler lived in this house for most of his childhood. Behind the photographer stands the cemetery where his parents were eventually buried. This is the cathedral known as Alter Dom or Ignatiuskirche. Hitler's father passed on January 3, 1903 and his mother passed on December 21, 1907. Also in Chorny's article he said, at the age of 15, Adolf Hitler experienced a ceremony of confirmation here and was anointed with Christ as a Catholic on Sunday. This was Hitler's school in Leonding. In the bottom image, Hitler is the tallest boy in the top row. This school is now a museum. Chorny writes, about this time Adolf was fascinated by the history of the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871 and was interested in reading adventure books of Karl May. Hitler's home was just 200 meters from here. Hitler then moved schools to Fischlham and attended here from 1895 to 1897. This building has since been turned into a normal house. While attending Fischlham, Hitler lived on a farm. Finally he ended up at Realschule. After failing to adapt to a provincial school, Adolf Hitler paid less and less attention to his studies and he was left for another year with 2 low grades and with multiple order marks. Hitler was the only one in his class who did not have to pay to attend here because of his financial situation. In 1904 he left the school because of poor grades and not because of his family's poverty. This was a custom office called Hauptzollamt that Hitler's father wanted him to go to so he could make a basis for a bureaucratic future, but Hitler voiced that he did not want to do that and he is nothing like his father. Landestheater is where Hitler met his best friend in 1905. His name was August Kubizek and his father approved of Hitler and him being close friends. Schmidtorek district was a popular place for Hitler and August to get together. In the final stages of his adolescence, during theatrical performances, Hitler and his best friend August would keep an eye on a woman named Stephanie Isak, who they thought was attractive. This love, however, was one way. Sarah Kettler writes, Hitler's teen years were spent doing things like drawing, reading and going to the theater instead of learning a trade. Clara even got a piano for her son. In 1907, she gave her approval and support when Hitler wanted to go to Vienna so he could pursue his dream of becoming an artist. Hitler once said that the greatest shame of his life was to drag his drunk father Alois from the local beer pub to home. His father was a heavy drinker and evidently drank himself to death. He died on the sofa in his favorite restaurant because he choked on blood in his lungs. For years he kept his mother's picture in his breast pocket. Her portrait was placed in his rooms, and apparently was the only personal picture displayed. And during his last days in a Berlin bunker, where he committed suicide on April 30, 1945, Clara's picture was still with Hitler. Hitler's mother, Clara, was second cousins with her husband and young enough to be his daughter. Growing up she even called him uncle. Adolf was the 4th child she had given birth to but the first to survive past being an infant. Even when she had a daughter, Adolf was still her top priority. It was reported that Hitler was barely fazed by his father's death but was distraught to hear about his mother's passing.